All right, tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai, and welcome to another exciting webinar for Brian Osmond Tēnei. It is my privilege to introduce to you my good friend, Shane Hastie. Ko tēnei te rangatira whakamihi a Shane Hastie. Yes, indeed, a leader, an influencer in the community. Some say he's a man, some say he's a myth, I say he's a legend. Now, Shane will be presenting today on something that's going to be very interesting for a lot of us, and that will be around lean portfolio management, particularly in supporting ongoing transformation. So I'm not going to ruin that in any way because he is going to take us through something really, really cool over the next wee while. But don't forget, in the Zoom box there, you'll see Q&A down the bottom. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. We will look at them. If there's anything that might come up that's got some real good energy, Shane may address it then, or we may wait to the end to be able to address it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Shane. Shane, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Brian. Kia ora tātou. Ko Graham of Monteith toku hapu, ko Holland toku whānau, ko Hastie toku whānau, ko Shane tēnei. Yes, indeed, I am Shane. And welcome to our webinar. So if I've got this right, I'm sharing my screen. And at this point, you should be seeing... sharing the right screen. Yeah. So lean portfolio management supporting transformation, supporting the ongoing transformation of organizations. So yeah, we've done a bit of the who's Shane. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm an author, they call me the global delivery lead at SoftEd, and I'm been involved in doing this stuff for a fair wee while. And the lean portfolio topics and concept is certainly not new. It was one of the things that Evan Label and myself included in the No Projects book, is how the shift to a no project culture, to value streams, to product type thinking, requires a shift in that portfolio. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But to give a bit of background, here are some stats. Now, there are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics, but these are reasonably validated. How long did it take for different types of products to gain 50 million users, and airlines 68 years, Pokemon Go 19 days, and it's getting even faster. How long, in this case, to 1 million users from zero? Netflix 3.5 years, ChatGPT 5 days, and there have been other products that have been even faster since then. And this is the reality for the environment we work in today and for our organizations. But the so what of that is that transformation is no longer an initiative or a project with an end date. For organizations, it is now a constant state of being. This means that we need to build some really, really core competencies around adapting to change. It is a key survival competency. It's a competitive advantage for organizations in today's environment. And that's the same irrespective of whether you are a government department, a not-for-profit, a large multinational corporation, or a small retailer. Whatever your organization, adapting to this ongoing, constant change, these changes in our context, our ecosystem, the environment that we're working in and living in, is an absolutely necessary skill today. And to support this, the idea of lean portfolio management is one of the ways that we make this happen in our organizations. IC Agile has done a lot of work on publishing some principles and the ideas of lean portfolio management and distilling the thinking that's been out there. And this is the definition from the IC Agile learning outcomes and from the white paper that they published. Adaptive lean portfolio provides a mechanism for organizations to fund and manage the flow of initiatives and activities across the whole organization. And the key here is maximizing value delivered to customers and other stakeholders. So this is about ensuring that we can fund effectively and manage. And the really important point in here is the flow of initiatives. And we'll see as we look at some of the practices, the way that we've got to shift our thinking into a continuous flow. But let's rapidly just talk to the 9 fundamental principles that IC Agile have published for lean portfolio management. What does it mean? So aligning around common goals. We want to say, yeah, of course. But all too often, we don't see organizations in every part of the organization aligned around that North Star. Customer centricity. Again, we want to say, of course, we care about our customers. But then the people who are closest to the customers are the ones who have the least power to make decisions and support those customers. Communicate an adaptive strategy transparently. All too often we have the need to know, whereas the reality is if the people at the edge, those closest to our customers, do understand the strategy, the goals, the why, well, they're able to make better decisions and to support our customers more effectively. And a result of that, deliver more value for our organization. Optimize flow and reduce waste. The principles of lean. Minimizing work in progress. We've been talking for years about stop starting in order to start stopping. Reduce the number of things that we're doing, prioritize work, and that way we get more effective flow and delivery. Define, prioritize, and deliver value frequently. But the first part there is define. What does value mean in our context, in this situation? And prioritize, ruthlessly prioritizing. And that comes back to the optimize flow and reduce waste. These principles all tightly interweave. And then deliver frequently. Use a delivery mechanism that enables you to have product in the hands of customers rapidly and frequently. A hard one for many organizations is the structural change. And we talk here about structuring in value streams, breaking the silo-based mentality and thinking about the end-to-end delivery of value for our organizations and to the benefit of our organization, the value for our customers. Focusing on outcomes over outputs. It's easy to measure the number of widgets we make. But what is the difference that those widgets are making in the world? What are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve? Our eighth principle, balance capacity and demand. Now, this almost flows in the face of what we hear in organizations so often. Do more with less. No. Let's be realistic about what our capacity is and then deliver what we're able to. And make sure that we have ruthlessly prioritized that what we're delivering is the most important stuff. And related to that, shorten the planning and funding cycles. In a highly volatile, rapidly changing world, a 12-month financial planning cycle is a joke. How frequently should we look at the forecasting and planning and funding and adapting and shifting our investments? So if we talk about a portfolio in investment terms that should have a variety of different investments that we are moving funding between on an ongoing basis. And there will be some things that have outlived their usefulness and we stop them. And there will be others where we're learning more as we go and we're adapting and we're expanding. And that ability to learn, shorten the feedback cycles. And those planning and funding cycles are linked to the feedback cycles we use. So let's delve into how some of these play out. First and foremost, structure and value streams. Our silo structures lose sight of the customer. And all too often, I've gone into organizations and we've got the development team, the IT group sitting in the middle there, and that's those green chevrons. The development group, we're agile. We've adopted Scrum. We're doing Kanban. We've got our flow is going well, and yet we still, at an organization level, it can take 9 to 12 months for an idea to go from inception to something in the hands of the customer. Even though the development group now, more often than not, are using an agile approach and they're delivering stuff frequently, but then they sit in an operations silo, or it takes 3 months for a change approval to happen. Breaking those silos and shifting that flow. And we talk to the team and the network as the flow of value. Lean portfolio management thrives in networks, not in bureaucracies. So we want teams, cross-functional collaborative teams, who have all of the skills needed to take an idea, a customer request, and deliver it into the hands of real-world customers. That could include legal departments or legal skills. It could include marketing. It could include product development. It could include support. It could include sales. But we shift that end-to-end responsibility to the agile team, and then we link those teams in networks. And the network is a living, evolving environment. So we're shifting from, and this image from Steve Denning, shifting from the bureaucratic hierarchical structures, moving away even from teams inside bureaucracies, which is a good step along the way, into truly networked teams with value streams that define where we are delivering our value to our customers. What are the things that we look at? And our value streams, so you've got the end-to-end value stream, and then you've got cross-cutting value streams. So I've done a lot of work in airlines, and the end-to-end value stream there is from reservation to revenue, from the time a passenger decides they want to buy a ticket, they want to take a trip, until they have flown that plane. They've got to their destination, and we can accrue the revenue from that. Supporting that, though, there have to be these development and supporting value streams that are enabling. So again, if we think in the airline case, there is a value stream for the acquisition to disposal of an aircraft, and that includes all of the maintenance and repair and the services of keeping the planes going. That will interact with the passenger value stream and revenue stream at points when passengers need to be on planes. And there's a whole lot of work and a value stream around scheduling, crew scheduling, from scheduled again to flown, for getting the right people on the planes to support those passengers. So our value streams do cross and interact with each other. This concept of the operational value stream and then the supporting or development value streams that enable the core value stream to continue. Defining those end-to-end value streams, defining those development and supporting value streams is a really important shift in our ways of thinking. And structuring around, are we a core value stream? Are we a supporting value stream? The team topologies work that Manuel Pias and I've forgotten his co-author done in the team topologies book, talks a lot about how do we align our team structures with the value streams that need to be in place. And again, not just for knowledge worker products, not just for software products. This works in any type of organization. And you can see the example in here is the value stream for loans in a financial institution, from requested to paid. What this also means, though, for our organizations is we have to get good at forming and reforming teams. If we're in an environment where things change a lot, where the demand for capacity is shifting frequently, then we have to get good at forming teams and reforming teams. And Heidi Helfand's work on dynamic reteaming gives some great examples and some really good ways to support this. So how do we reduce the time to performing? If we think of Tuckman's model of form, storm, norm, perform, it typically takes months or longer for teams to get to a performing state. However, if we have an understanding of what's involved in this, our teams themselves can become really good at absorbing new people and spawning off even new teams, so that that network of teams becomes dynamic and able to adapt and expand rapidly without losing significant productivity. Again, this is not an easy thing. It's a competency that organizations need to build, and it's a competency that a team needs to build. It comes down to having transparency about how we work together, about being open and honest when there are challenges in the team, and being absolutely clear about the goals of this team and the way that we work together. Then when somebody new comes in, it's easy to bring them up to speed, and how do we support each other? So Des, you're asking the questions, how do we help ensure teams can develop those excellent working methods and relationships? As we evolve the team, we need to put some guidance, some guidelines in. One organization where I worked with in this, we had a policy that teams could shift membership by no more than 25% every quarter. And we would bring new people in and we would shift people across. So if a typical team was 8 to 10 people, no more than 2 would move in a single quarter. And we synchronized it around quarterly activities. That was the cadence that worked there for this team. And what we found over time is that people moved through multiple teams. And by doing that, they addressed, that they spread the knowledge. So there was a wonderful, wider understanding of the bigger picture, where there were products that had some interdependencies on each other. Over time, most of the team members had worked on most of the products, and they were able to then move. And it also meant that when there was a need to rapidly put some, I recall one specific instance where there was a problem that needed to be addressed in one of the products, and it was just adding some new features that were absolutely crucial to get out. It was a legislative change, I think. They were able to bring people from other teams into and work in there, and they were immediately productive. There was no ramp-up time because they'd spread that work already. Cool, Sammy, did they need to have a certain level of maturity? Would there be a situation where you wouldn't suggest this? Good question. I feel that my experience and thinking of the organizations where we've done this, it wasn't so much maturity as a culture that made learning easy. So it's the culture, it's the underlying culture, I think, more than the specific maturity of the team. Could I think of a situation where I wouldn't suggest that? Yeah, if you're in an environment where fear is the underlying, where it is unsafe, but I would want to fix that culture first, and that leads me to, thank you, that's a beautiful segue, having organization culture that supports the team culture. What is our true north? What are we as an organization looking to achieve? The people first culture, supporting the people in the organization. Richard Branson puts it beautifully. Train your people so well that they can go anywhere, and treat them so well that they won't. Safe to fail, safe to learn. And the Maori term, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. It's the people. Treat our people well. And there's a whole lot to wrap up behind that. Treat our people well. It starts right at the top, but it also starts from the bottom up. What are the ways that we choose to work and to treat each other? Those are key elements. And there's probably a whole series of webinars and podcasts about culture. I will do a bit of a place commercial here. I do a weekly podcast on InfoQ, the InfoQ Engineering Culture Podcast, where we look at what are some of the key things that great organizations have achieved in terms of these cultures. So the practices there, we've spoken a lot about the small, the autonomous, the cross-functional team, the self-management, devolving the decision-making authority to as close to the customer as possible. Yes, we need constraints, we need organizational guidelines, but we also want to treat our people as responsible adults. So it's about enablement, not so much direction. Improve communication in all aspects, vertical, horizontal, over-communicate almost. And build this concept of collective intelligence. The whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts in this context. Where the more we have people who truly, we build this trusting environment, we spread the knowledge. So again, the networks of knowledge. That way, if, for instance, I've worked across multiple teams in a period over the last year or so, or a couple of years, and now I'm working on a new product, I will know that when we work on this thing, actually we've done something like that over here. We could just borrow what they've done. Or we're about to do something that's going to impact that product over there. And before we do that, let's pause. And it's not a change management process. It's a simple have a conversation. So that network of collective intelligence across the organization, the ability to trust. And you've got organizations like Morningstar who have no managers, but they have these networks of communication. And there's many other organizations that are out there that you can look to, Senko and various others. By now there are dozens of case studies that have been looked at and seen how these ways of working do make a huge difference. And talking to building the slack in the system. Henrik Knieberg talks in his video, Product Ownership in a Nutshell, about trying to shove more paper into a printer to make it print fast. Well, that's what a lot of our organizations seem to do. We have a bias towards action that says we're going to start, we're going to start, we're going to start. We're not deliberately slowing down and saying, what should we do next? What is the organization and team capacity? And we end up with something that looks like the top of this, where the pipe is clogged and things move really slowly. Tom DeMarco has written a really good book about this. It's called Slack, Getting Past Busy Work. And he talks in there about when organizations do structure in such a way that the capacity that they're not trying to overload, but they recognize the capacity and availability. What we get is more steady and consistent flow. And as a result of that, we get more out of the organization, more work, more value delivered, because we are focusing on one thing at a time. We're finishing something before we move to the next task. And what we need to look at there is a focus not on the individual capacity and efficiency, work our people at 110%, but at the overall capacity in the pipe. And what DeMarco talks about is if we run a system at about an 80% capacity, we get that consistent, steady flow. We try and go above that, we see the blockages, the phantom bottlenecks that are often, why is things just slowing down? And when we explore And I've gone into organizations many times and been asked to help. Why are things so slow? Inevitably, there is either a single person bottleneck, or we are starting more work than the teams are able to deliver, but it feels good to start. We want to make people happy, so we don't say no. To enable this, we need absolutely clear priorities, and we need the ability to say no. And then we look at the flow through our portfolio. So this image, originally work done by Phil Abernathy, was the person who first came up with this image. Phil and I worked on this many years ago. But to give him credit, it's also put in. It's part of the managing the adapted portfolio chapter in our No Projects book. The idea is that we have a funnel. There is a limited capacity. Things are coming into that funnel, and we need to prioritize. We also need to, and if I were to redraw this now, I would put the waste gate on the side of that portfolio, the image that we've brought into the Rock Crusher book, the being able to discard stuff. But things are coming in. The existing work, new requests, roadmaps, organization strategy, requests are coming along. And we now need to prioritize and filter. And the funnel has a limited capacity. That's all we will take in. And then we look at, across all of the teams, how is this work flowing? And on a regular basis, and we recommend that this regular is no more than once a quarter. And if your organization environment is particularly dynamic, then make that even shorter. I've worked with in a couple of places where we've made that review cycle as short as every 2 weeks. We stop and we look at all of the initiatives. So teams should be using either a continuous flow or an iterative Scrum-like method where they are delivering to a cadence. This is the cadence that sits above the teams, where we're looking at all of the initiatives underway, and on a regular basis, we're pausing. So these governance and feedback checkpoints are saying, have we done enough? Will it be valuable to invest more on this initiative, or would we be better served to bring a different stream of work to these people? Now, the teams stay stable and consistent. It's the work that we're bringing to the team rather than the reform and change the project culture of temporary teams and so forth. This is about consistent, stable teams, but we're thinking about what are the most important things that they need to be doing. And the shortened funding cycles here, this is not a year-long plan. We can forecast how much we think we need over time, and that's actually pretty straightforward. How many teams have we got? Because a team is a consistent cost. What we want to shorten and what we want to look at is what is the work that this team is doing, and are they doing the most valuable work? If they're not, if something has changed in the ecosystem that what they are doing is no longer the most important thing, well, be comfortable to stop. We have done enough of that work. And the idea of funding these stable teams and then using that to define what is our capacity to deliver the items of value in the organization. It's a fundamental shift. We're budgeting for teams and keeping the team stable. The cost side of our equation does not shift. A team costs what a team costs. It's the number of people for the time that we have them. But we're very, very deliberate about what work we bring to the teams to make sure that that is always the most important thing, so that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. So it shifts our whole focus of budget to outcomes, to being responsive and adaptive, to being participatory, to being absolutely transparent. And that frequent validation and course correction organized around value streams. This is an incredibly hard but really important shift. Without this philosophical shift, you're going to get stuck in a projectized culture where we're trying to predict years in advance, and we know that it's wrong. So the shift to an adaptive budgeting model is one of the keys, and it's hard. We also need to think about, from a portfolio mix perspective, that we have initiatives and value streams that have a three components. There's run the business, do what we do now well, and make sure that that we are delivering value consistently. So we've got the value streams, and they are running to technical excellence in delighting our customers. Then we want to look at what are the things that we want in our portfolio that should be new. The stuff we don't currently, it's probably adjacent to what we do. How can we leverage what we do and bring in new business? And then at the transformational end, what is the new thing that we're not doing at all? And that's the research and development, the experiments that we're going to run. Now, what is the right portfolio split? What proportion of our organization revenues and funding should we apply to the different elements? We don't know. I can't give you a formula. But what you have to do is look at what is the volatility in our marketplace? What is the volatility in our environment? What is the stability? Where are the things that are just core and we do them really well? What are the things that we want to learn? Where are the places where we could be disrupted or where we could become disruptors? These are key. The run the business, the add new markets, and the brand new, the transformation. Part of this thinking is how do we change from cost management to value management. And Sanjeev Augustine and other authors have written this really great book, From the PMO to the VMO. The governance in the organization focused on maximizing value. The shift here is very significant. Traditionally, our PMOs are about compliance and standardization. When we shift to the value management office, it's about maximizing value across the organization, making sure that the initiatives align with the strategic goals, and also being comfortable to stop work when we've done enough. It's a governance body, but it's an enabling constraint. And it starts with that context of value as our primary driver. So what would it take to shift your PMO's thinking to a VMO, managing for value delivery, not for adherence to standards? And we're all going to make mistakes as we do this. Ahmed Sidki, the journey to business agility is a grind, driven by an identity, and it requires persistent effort over a long period of time and a growth mindset, and it has no shortcuts. We can't make these changes in our organizations overnight. We're talking about culture shift. We're talking about structural shift. Mistakes will happen. The learning will happen. And some common mistakes that I've seen with organizations, OKRs, organization key results, objectives and key results is a really good framework for defining outcomes in this way. But they can be badly used as a performance management framework. And as soon as we do that, we lose the benefits. Trying to apply lean portfolio management on a hierarchical structure without shifting to value stream is going to cause pain and is a likely indicator of failure. The annual budgeting cycle, how do we shift that to yes, we can forecast. We have to be good corporate citizens. We have to be able to answer, this is what we think we're going to need. But we also need to be able to say that we can adapt and respond. Another common mistake is the copy paste. And we see this with frameworks all the time. Well, if we just do exactly what they did, it will work. No, it won't. There is no one size fits all. You can't. You be inspired by a framework, be inspired by what others have done, and then work out what is going to work best here and allow that to evolve. Take the time to find out what your real value streams are. And structure around those. Be careful, though, of too many reorganizations. How many of us are change fatigued because we're constantly being restructured? The lip service adoption, with no transparency about what the real blockers, impediments are. We'll do this because the boss has said so, but nobody actually buys into it. And another one, calling an output an outcome because it's easy to measure. So there are a lot of common mistakes, but there are also more and more organizations today who are doing this well and who are getting great outcomes and great results. We know that organizations can adapt to the new world, and many of them have done. We've seen rapid adaptation. We've also seen how hard it can be. But we've got the tools at our fingertips today. it takes the organizational courage. And here I will do the place commercial here. SoftEd has a lean portfolio management course. And in fact, many of the slides that we've looked at have come out of that course. So I would encourage you to have a look at it. And here are some of the key learning outcomes that participants in this course will acquire. The ability to think about how do we shift to that customer centricity. How do we communicate around those common goals? How do we structure in value streams? How do we shorten planning and funding cycles, and so. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Brian, do you want to come on back?
I am back.
Have we got any questions?
We've got one from Mike.
Are we likely to run any in-person lean portfolio courses this year? Mike, I'm going to say I hope so. I know we're definitely delivering quite a few remotely. When you say, and curious as to where you're located, Mike, that might nudge us towards where we should put one on. But I will take your request to the scheduling folks.
Good question. Thanks, Mike. There's another one. Oh, there you go.
Located in Adelaide, but happy to travel. Cool.
Beautiful.
Oh, Roger, have I seen this operate in the state sector, which sometimes resists agile? Yes. I've seen it happen. I've also seen it fail. I've seen it be challenged. The state sector, like any other, is we're asking for cultural shift. There's nothing fundamentally that prevents this way of thinking being applied in any government or non-government organization. But it is, at its core, is the culture shift that is needed. And I've seen government departments, I'm not at liberty to mention them, but I've seen government departments that really have made the shift. And I've seen others where they've paid lip service and have not got the benefits from it. So it can be done, and I'm very comfortable to say I have seen it done in government departments. But it also and it takes that culture shift, irrespective of your organization.
Any other questions? Well, we have Shane on the hot seat. Now's the time to grill him. Oh, we do. Here's one. Raphael?
Ooh, how do you do that? How do you change leaders at the seed level into outcome-based over outputs? How do we look at... With difficulty is the first answer to that question. And understanding what are the drivers for these people. I fundamentally believe that any senior executive cares about organizational outcomes. If you can have the conversation that shows where they are, how we're moving them, or what the value that the organization will get from this, and what's in it for them. So this is organizational change 101. For every person who we're asking to come on a change journey with us, there has to be a what's in it for me. A why should I bother changing? If you go to a C-level manager, a C-level executive, and you tell them, that we want to implement a particular framework for product development, they're going to go, so what? Why should I care? But if you can show the value that the organization will get in terms of the real business outcomes, profitability, time to market, customer engagement, customer satisfaction, employee engagement and satisfaction, the things that do actually make a difference to our organizations today, then you can have that conversation. And then start talking about it in terms of experiments and tests that we can do. How will we know? What is one area where we could try this? What is one piece that we could do? And then measure it and be honest and brutal about the measures. We have to have a before and after situation. So I can say, yeah, this was the state before, this is what we did, this is what happened. And be comfortable that some of the times those experiments are going to fail. Senior leaders are used to people trying to pull the wool over their eyes to get their favorite thing addressed. Moving to a culture of transparency is hard, but absolutely necessary. Yeah, Raphael, well, how would reducing the waste and enabling the organization, enabling the flow of value in, let's pick one value stream, mortgage loans, enable you to reach that $25 billion that they're asking for? That's so related to the things that do matter at that senior level. These are the things that matter. Bring them on the journey with you. And do the experiment. Folks, please do feel free to reach out and connect. The QR code there is my LinkedIn profile.
Wonderful. We still have time for further questions, if any. He's on the hot seat. He's performing well, I must say. Well done, Shane.
Thank you, Brian.
And while waiting, just a reminder that for those that have joined us through this really cool webinar, I was going to say podcast, webinar, you will get an email. And in the email, we'll have a link to this webinar, so the recording of the webinar, and you'll have a copy of the slides that Shane has shared with us today.